Here I am, as promised. I heard you talking, so I thought there was someone with you. But you're alone. It's only me, yes. I see. As I told you earlier, my perspective on events will do nothing to change Morgana's mind. I would still like to hear what you have to say. Alright. Not being from this land, I don't believe in the local god, nor do I think priests and preachers are any better than con artists. Where did this come from? What I'm trying to say is if I give a confessional, it won't be to another human. What? You're an angel. Oh, sure, let's go get that then. Come again? Oh god. The angel from the stained glass window. That's you, isn't it? Wait, how on earth did you come to that conclusion? I was thinking about everything you said earlier in the cellar. The fact that you knew about Morgana, the fact that you could see into my heart, and in particular, all your talk about saving people's souls. Salvation is not a man's job. Which means you must be something else. I will tell you everything. Every foolish mistake, every terrible crime. And in exchange, I will like you to tell me what I am to do next, to lead me down the path I am to take. I terrify myself. With every passing day, my ability to tell what direction I'm supposed to be heading in dulls. So after I tell my story, I want you to do that for me. Please, will you show me the way? I can no more decide the path that you take than you. But you saw into my heart. Giselle, if you were here, would you encourage me to agree to his request, wouldn't you? Okay. I can't guarantee that anything I'll have to say would be of use, but I will do my best to lead you in the right direction. Thank you. Now, before I begin, there's one thing I need to clarify. I am not in love with Pauline. Yeah, he did say that in the dead end. He didn't care about her. She does play an important role in my life, though that much is true. She is your tether. Exactly. I suppose you could say, admired her. She is everything I am not, everything I cannot be. Is that something I should tell her, you think? That I don't love her, that I am incapable of feeling love. Should I tell her that, knowing genuinely she loves me? My instinct tells me I shouldn't. I know very well I'm lying to her, but there are circumstances in which a lie is preferable to the truth, are they not? With that said, I'm ready to begin. You have my full attention. Here we go. As you know, I am not from this land. The issue is, I don't know any more about where I came from than you. I remember the silk road, stretching out before me as far as the eye can see. Clouds of dust wisping across the bare dirt trail. That endless expanse of red earth. Remains ran into the very fabric of my mind. But beyond that, most of my memories are gone. Ooh, pretty. I can only clearly remember the last 5 years or so of my life. In my oldest real memory, I was a slave. I didn't work on some nobleman's estate, but instead I did physical labor, construction work. I built roads and buildings, tore down hills and mountains. That's the way it was decided someone built like I am would be the most used, I suppose. And while I doubt I need to tell you this, living conditions were miserable. Other slaves withered away and died on a daily basis. Working a noble's estate would have been easier without a doubt, if only for the fact that I would have a specific master. I don't remember anything about my life before becoming a slave. All I have are those few images from which I can guess I was a part of a caravan. Or perhaps a messenger. I vaguely remember being waylaid. We were vastly outnumbered, massacred with little resistance. Or at least I assumed that's what happened. When I next woke up, I had been stripped bare and was surrounded by men I did not recognize. The words they spoke were gibberish to my ears. But I could tell from their tone of voice and expressions that the things they were saying were not friendly. They seemed to be mocking me, laughing at me. As you might expect, I attempted to protest, but evidently I had been beaten quite badly while I was unconscious. My joints were stiff and swollen. On top of my dehydration, I could also barely move, let alone put up a fight. As strong as I might have been at full health, I was in no condition to do anything then. You have no idea what that's like. How it feels to be abused and humiliated, desperate for food and water. Yeah, he does. Oh, I see. So, as I was saying, I was a slave for one grueling, torturous year. No one treated me like a human being. There was no one from the same part of the world as me. And there was no one to come to my aid. Over time, I came to learn their language. Though I can only speak it, I don't know how to read or write. But to be honest, I think I was happier not understanding what people were saying about me. They had many words to describe me, none of them was flattering. Some of them would even call me beast, yeah. And the longer I was treated as something less than human, the more I began to question whether I really was one. A darkness grew inside of me with each repeated insult. I wanted to make them pay for the daily abuse. And who wouldn't? The desire to exact revenge when you've been mistreated is only natural. It's perfectly reasonable. But they were right about what I was deep down, a beast, and my revenge went far beyond what I could be considered reasonable. 4 years ago, I was sitting in a carriage as it rattled along the dirt road. This was not the kind of carriage you rode around in town, but a filthy slave transport. It was packed front to back with slaves, or soon to be slaves, I suppose I should say. There were men, young women, and even children. Everyone wore a look of hopelessness on their faces, and no one had the strength left to resist. They looked like me a year earlier, deprived of food and water and beaten into submission. The slave traders' gods were armed, of course, swords hanging from their hips, ready to be cut down anyone who showed any sign of resistance. So they sat there, lamenting their fate. Sitting beside me was a young girl, crying and silent. Morgana? Glancing over at her, I caught a glimpse of her face. Large chunks of skin seemed to have fallen off it. It was, suffice to say, an unusual sight. But beyond that, I didn't think much of it. I didn't find it disturbing or unpleasant, perhaps because I had a similarly unusual appearance. What caught my attention, though, was the way she was crying. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it seemed different somehow. From everyone else crying in the carriage, it was almost like her tears were not for herself. Why are you crying? At my question, the girl turned her head to look up at me. Surprise crossed her face for a few brief seconds, but that was her only reaction to my appearance. I assume her thought process was roughly the same as mine, so she felt no need to fear me. After the moment of hesitation, she said, "I am sad because I didn't get the chance to show my gratitude to the people Fairy did." Her response perplexed me to no end. Why was she concerned about showing gratitude? Why was she not despairing of her own circumstances? Why was that the emotion that griped her in that moment? I'm not hatred for the slave trader or sorrow for herself. To this day, I still don't understand. But that wasn't the only thing I found curious. Her voice, despite being soft, cut through the crying and wailing of the other slaves. I pictured it like a single patch of clear water in the middle of a swamp, untainted by the surroundings, gently undulating. One sentence was all she said, but there was something unbelievably calming about the sound of it. For a moment I was filled with a sense of tranquility. And though you may not believe it, I wanted to get her out of that filthy carriage, to undo the shackles threatening to taint her. And so I took action, driven by that desire. This is no lie, I promise. No, don't kill me. After I enslave your people, yeah, don't kill me. Please, you can have all the money. You can go free if that's what you want. I'll apologize, anything. What? Why are you laughing? Please spare me. I'm not doing that. I have a wife and children, please. I'm begging you. And why should I care? Holding a sword in my left hand felt amazingly right. Whatever work I once did must have required me to use a blade. You were a samurai. Or a soldier from the east. Even with the shackles still around my wrists, I had little trouble slaughtering the slave traders and their guards. They let their guards down because we were restraints. The thought of anyone resisting never once crossed their minds. Dead bodies sprawled out around me. Corpses I had made, lives I have snuffed out. Look at this. See, no one can defeat me. They stood no chance against my strength. How much longer is it laughing? More, I need more, I need more. I don't have the words to describe the high it gave me killing those men, the power I felt over them. I was driven mad by the stench of blood filling the air. No, it just drew out what was always there. If I weren't already deranged, the corpses would have nothing to stimulate in the first place. Good reasoning, but I guess not really. After taking the keys off one of the slave traders, I returned to the carriage, doing my best to act calm and suppress the bubbling exhilaration. Hey you, unlock my shackles for me. Morgana. I would do it myself if I could. You. Say something, would you? But she said nothing, simply removing my shackles as I commanded. If she had said even one word, let me hear that curiously calming voice of hers. Then in all likelihood I would have stopped there. But she remained perfectly silent. Everyone was in shock at what they had just witnessed, including her. In time though, the slaves started cheering. Oh no. The same people who had been wailing minutes earlier were now shouting praises. Our savior! You're our savior! We're free to go home. No. Undo our shackles, please. I am a beast. What? I am not a savior, I'm not a man, I'm a beast. Isn't that right? I'm a beast, aren't I? What are you? More, I need more. Thirst for more. Oh, why are you pointing your... Need more. Dead. In that moment, the last of my reason dissolved. I went into a frenzy, slaughtering the helpless slaves I have never intended to kill. It was euphoric. I couldn't get enough. Reveled in it. Never before had I felt such utter ecstasy. Their cries for mercy as I ripped through them were delicious. Okay, you don't need to describe it. The looks of fear in their eyes. The way their faces twist. The splatters of blood around their mouths open in screams. The despair that filled the dim. I didn't care anymore that they were just as much of victims as me. That they had suffered the same abuse and humiliation. All of that was buried beneath the waves of bliss that ravished me. Everyone who asked to be spared, I skewered. I worked my way around the inside of the carriage, killing dozen upon dozen of slaves. Heads went rolling off shoulders, hot geysers of blood spewing from open necks. I was practically wailing through blood at that point. Some bodies I completely dismembered. Others I dismembered, leaving their entrails to hang out their open guts. All of them had the look of agony frozen onto their faces as death took them. I don't know if I was consciously avoiding her or if it was just a coincidence. But the girl was the only one I left alive. She, of course, hadn't been spared the mess, so she sat there drenched in sticky red gore. Her lips appeared to be trembling, though I couldn't tell for sure with much of her skin missing. The fire inside me still burned white hot. She was the reason I had done any of this in the first place. I had stood up because I wanted to set her free. But my original intentions were long since gone from my mind. Raw pleasure overwhelmed any sense of reason. I approached the girl, pointing the sword at her neck. I expected her to scream to beg for her life like the others. But she did nothing, simply stared up at me. Why didn't you run? At my question, the girl finally spoke. Why did you kill them? The sound of her voice quelled the furor within me. It baffled me. I had no control over it, yet this strange girl could pacify me with a single utterance. The words she used didn't matter, it was her voice. She could have called me a monster, and it would have had the same effect. Because I felt like it. I couldn't explain my reasoning for murdering the slaves. I didn't have the words to express the things that drove me. All I could tell her was that I did it because I felt like it. And why haven't you killed me yet? I couldn't find the answer for that question in my somewhat rattled mind either. In retrospect, I realize now that her voice was my first tether. But at the time I had no idea why I didn't take her life in my frenzy. I'd kill other children, other women. Young, old, sad, miserable, it didn't matter. Nothing had so much as pricked my conscience. I don't know. I said, and then I stepped off the carriage, and walked away. I left with questions I couldn't answer. Was I really a beast? Was unleashing my innate savagery and reveling in the massacre of helpless people all I wanted? I didn't know. After escaping from the slave traders, I became something of a bandit. I had no hope of anyone taking me in. Not only was I a murderer, I was a foreigner. Nor did I have any chances of finding decent work. So I lived by the sword, killing and plundering. The money I honestly didn't give a damn about. I had no desire to be wealthy. It was simply a matter of survival. That and quenching my thirst for blood. I went on for about 3 years like that, until finally encountering something that I couldn't defeat with my sword. No amount of muscle was enough to protect myself from the disease. One day, I woke up with chills, my vision blurry, barely able to move my own limbs. Damn. I set up for a nearby village hoping to see a doctor, but my body didn't last that long. I collapsed on the side of the road, drained of my last strength. It was a moderately busy road so I assume I had made it close to the city. Dozens of people passed by, silently pretending not to see anything. I didn't look like someone a respectable person would want to involve themselves with in a normal circumstance, so it was no surprise they were interested in this sick, filthy foreign man. Hell, I couldn't remember the last time I had bathed. It was hard to look at me, let alone get anywhere near me. This is where I'm going to die, I thought. It seemed like a suitable end to a mad, murderous monster's life. Withering away on the side of the road beneath the sneering passers-by. The fact that I was still alive at all after 3 years of leeching off other people's lives was itself wrong. I didn't lament my impending demise. I accepted that such was the way of the world. But then, I glanced up to see the woman, a nun habit, looking down at me. In a nun's habit looking, I don't know. Are you alright? Are you sick? I'm going to check your temperature, okay? Wow, you're burning up. You shouldn't be out here in this condition. Do you not have anywhere to go? Don't worry, I've got you covered. There's a church not too far from here. Hang in there a little longer, you'll be fine. And what's your god? What's your god gonna do for me? He helps people in need. It's not very big, but we always got a room for people who need it. You can rest up in one of the open beds, and I should be able to get you something to eat. I promise it would be better than staying out here at any rate. Can you stand? Not a problem. We can do this together. Put your arm around my shoulders. The church isn't that far. We can do it. You are going to carry me. Yep. It'll be fine. We'll make it one way or another. We're almost there. Just a little longer. I'm heavy, aren't I? Very, very heavy. But that's not a problem. I can do anything if I put my mind to it. If I put my mind to it. Just throw me into a ditch. Now, God doesn't like his children talking like that. Almost there. We're almost there. So how are you feeling? Better, I hope. I left some... What? I left some applesauce. Nice! On the bedstand, if you're feeling up to eating anything. Applesauce! And you're welcome to stay here as long as you need. Why did you help me? Because that's what people do. They help each other. That's not what most people do. I like to think it is. You church people are exceptions. I'm not sure I agree with that. This woman is only showing me compassion because she doesn't know what I am. She wouldn't be so friendly if she knew I was a madman and a murderer. If there's anything else you want, let me know. I can't make you any fancy dinners, but if it's anything I can get, I will. Could you tell me your name? I'm... I'm Marie. Marie. After, who it was? The Virgin. You're not familiar with the Virgin Mary? Just look at me. I'm clearly not from these parts. Yeah, I can see that. So that would make you a traveler, huh? You speak the language very well, though. I think you have been here for a while, then. Yes, I have. How exciting! So when you're feeling better, blah, 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 blah. So when you're feeling better, maybe you could tell me about the country you came from. I've never been far from home, so I'm curious what it's like elsewhere. There's nothing I could tell you. It can be anything. Tell me about yourself if you want. I'm even less inclined to do that. Get better soon, Kay. I'm looking forward to... Why did I say it like that? I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. I'm not sure there's anyone out there more deserving of the Virgin Mary's name. What was that? Your name, it suits you. Oh no, not at all. I'm incredibly flattered to hear you say that, but I hardly live up to the name. What's your name, by the way, Yukimasa? Yes, you do. I have no name. You don't? If you want something to call me by, you can choose a name for me. Anything you want. I'm nameless. You give me a name. I think you should be the one to choose your name. I'll be more than happy to help, though. But you should go with the name you think best. I see. Well, I should get going. I'll be around, so if you need anything, just holler. Bye then. How am I supposed to choose a name for myself when I don't know anything about me? I recovered quickly with proper bed and roof over my head. Out on the road I have been certain I stood no chance, but I was back on my feet in only 3 days at the church. My body was more resilient than even I knew. And now that I was back in health, I had no intentions of sticking around. Thank you for everything. I would be dead if it wasn't for you. No thanks necessary. I'm just glad to see you're feeling better. There's no need to be in such a rush to leave, you know. Stay a bit longer and make sure everything is alright. I'm not going to stay any longer than necessary. If you're sure. Take this as payment for the food and loggings. I can't accept that, no. We don't charge for charity. Charity is not free. You pay for it. Let me pay you back. I can't. Please take the money. If you insist, I can accept it as Tire. I don't even know what that is. Is that a church thing? Tire, whatever that is. A charity. A tire. Think of it like a donation to the church. Okay. Like you said, the work we do isn't free. Alright then. A tire it is. Thank you. And may God bless you for your generosity. So long. Hey, if you're ever in the area, maybe you could stop by sometime. I never did get the chance to have that talk with you. And was really looking forward to it. I just caused you more trouble. What? No. You wouldn't. It makes... What makes you think that? Are you afraid I will scare... Wait, what? Are you afraid you'll scare people off just because you look different? I really don't think you need to be worried about that. It's not just my appearance. I am... EPO. Do you mean it? That it won't be any trouble having me around? Absolutely, I mean it. Okay. I'll consider it. Wonderful! I can't wait to see you again. Yeah. Yeah. Believe me, I knew I had no place involving myself with her. A killer making himself comfortable in the house of God? I don't even believe in their deity, and I still knew that that was nothing if not extremely disrespectful. The money I had donated to her wasn't even clean. It was stolen. I didn't feel the slightest bit guilty about it too, though. I was more than conscious of what I was doing, but none of that mattered to me. She had smiled when she took it. That was enough. Seeing the nun smile put my heart at ease. Much like the sound of the slave girl's voice had several years before. It restrained me, suppressed my urges. That smiling face was my new tether. I had always believed that I was at my happiest while torturing people. That my thirst for murder was ingrained in my soul. But as exhilarating as taking other lives was, there was a part of me that yearned for peace. I had gotten a taste of that with her. I wanted more. Even knowing I had no place in that world, that peace was something I could never attain. I would never attain. I still long for it. It started with brief visits every few months. In time, though, their frequency began to increase. Soon it was once a month, then twice, and then once a week. The length of my visits gradually grew as well. Every time I showed up, the nun greeted me with a smile, quenching my thirst without the need for blood. The more we met, the more I endeavored to be a normal man around her, or to play the part of one. I thought that If I acted like there was nothing wrong with me, then I wouldn't be out of place at her side. I wanted to feel like I belong in that peaceful world where she lived. Village child. Ah, it's the giant man, Murray. The giant man's here. I can't do a child voice, I'm sorry. Giant? Ah, hello there. I was beginning to think you weren't coming this week. I was having trouble deciding on what to bring you. You're always coming here, you know. You don't have to bribe yourself in. But I appreciate it, thank you. I wouldn't feel right if I didn't bring something. I brought a variety of fruits for you today, so you can share them with the children. They'll be delighted. Thank you so much. There's nothing really. So have you decided on a name for yourself yet? A name? Not yet, no. Nothing at all. It makes talking to you a little awkward, not having anything to call you. In that case, the giant man is as good as anything. Did he get under your skin? A little. I'm not that big, am I? Well, all giants to little kids. I do wish there'd be a little less blunt about it sometimes, though. Indeed. I suppose it's better than them being afraid of me. The jaw and hair have strong nerves. They're ordinary kids. You're just not a scary person. They only assume I'm harmless because I'm with you. What? You make it sound like you actually are dangerous or something. Because I am. Don't get worked up about it. The only thing different about us is our race. What? Everything else is exactly the same. I'm not so sure. You must have some pretty awful experience because of your parents then, to make you so concerned about it. I wish I could say I understood your pain. That's not necessary. But if I could, then maybe I could feel a little closer to you. If only I could be even half the same race as you. You have nothing to gain from being more like me. You don't think so? I think there's a lot that would be nice about it. I would probably have a pretty black hair. Pretty black hair at least. If I'm ever reborn, I'd like to be more like you. Well, okay. Why are you so obsessed with being like me? I just am. Oh. Yeah. That was about the time I started noticing the feelings she had for me. At first I thought I was simply being egotistical. There was no way a woman like her would be interested in a man like me. But I couldn't think of any other explanation for the way she looked at me. Back then I believe I loved her too. And that if we could be together as man and woman, then I would finally be able to attain the peace I so sought. That I could wash my hands of the killer within me. Defeat the urges once and for all. That I could step out of the darkness and... That I could step out of the darkness I had lived in for so long. That I would be able to see the light. That I would be able to experience love like any ordinary man. So in the name of that hope, I took action. That foolish, naive hope. What are we doing out here so late at night? Sorry for asking you to meet me on such short notice. I hope it wasn't too much trouble sneaking out. It certainly wasn't easy. So you had something to tell me. What I'm about to tell you, every last word is sincere. And then once you've heard me out, I want you to turn me down. What? Over these past few months, I've come to at least somewhat understand the responsibilities and restrictions placed on you as a nun. But even ignoring the obligations you have, I know good and well I am not a suitable match for you. Which is why, as I said, I would like you to turn me down. I still want to hear it. I love you. I fell for you the moment I first saw you. I know I don't deserve to be anywhere near you, but every time we met, my desire to be with you grew stronger and stronger until it was out of my control. Turn me down, Murray, please, and I will stop trying to get close to you. I am not Murray. I am not Murray. You're not what? My real name is Pauline. Pauline? Marie is my baptismal name. It's not the name I was given at birth. I love you too. I fell for you the moment I first laid eyes on you. I know it's forbidden, but I want to be with you too. Any free time I have, I want to spend it with you. I'm glad to hear you say that. Thank you for being honest with me. No, thank you for not turning me down. Wow, talk about an anxious day. When you asked me to meet you out here tonight, I wonder if that might be what it was about. I felt like my heart was going to explode all day. Heart explode, oh no. Guys get nervous about telling girls how they feel too, don't they? Yeah, we do. Until now, I had no idea what falling in love was so hard on the nerves. Just thinking about you makes my mind turn to mush. It was hard to work like that, you know. Is it really that stressful? Is it like that for you too? No, I'm heartless. I'm a murderer. Yeah. Sure. Thinking about you makes it impossible to concentrate. Sure. Tell me something about... I mean, Pauline. What is it? How exactly is it hard on your nerves? What? How exactly? It's like, I'm in the clouds and I want to scream, I want to jump into a lake at all. What the heck? I want to jump into a lake all times. What? I don't understand. That doesn't help me much. Could you be a little bit more specific? Yeah. Really, are you trying to embarrass me? It's like my whole body gets really hot. What? you get aroused. No, what? To put it bluntly, yes. What? I see. You're a real jerk, you know. You shouldn't go around trying to humiliate ladies. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh, you. Well, that was insightful. So I'm not in love with her, or romantically attracted to her, or even physically attracted to her. All I want from her is her smile. Being around her does not arouse me. In fact, it does not. It does the exact opposite. Well, it does exactly the opposite. My fire burns brightest when I'm not with her. It all makes sense now. I just want someone to keep me placidated, keep me calm, good lord. I'm disturbed though. I am disturbed true and true. A murderer and a beast. See, that's why I didn't want to say anything. I knew you will laugh at me. I'm sorry. I truly am. I did ultimately get what I wanted out of the arrangement. She became my tether. Became an invaluable part of my life. Even if I had no real love for her. When I was with her, I was at peace. That said, her presence didn't completely rid me of my urges. I was still occasionally struck with the bounds of insatiable thirst. Overwhelming desire to mutilate anyone who came into my line of sight. And sometimes Pauline became the object of that desire. Oh no. It goes without saying that I never did draw my sword on her. But I have no way of knowing when I might lose control. If I ever did kill her, there would be nothing left to keep me from regressing completely into a beast. Pauline and I arranged regular nighttime meetings, though never once did I tell her how I truly felt. And I had no intention to either. When I was with her, I was in the role of her lover. She never questioned my love for her, and expressing hers for me caused her to smile even more than normal. The happier she was, the more beneficial it was for me. Spending time with her in this capacity, I was able to gain a deeper understanding of what kind of person Pauline was. She was a deeply generous and compassionate woman. While I now understand her near compulsive deeds of charity were a result of the stress and uncertainty she felt about herself at the time. I believe she was doing it because she genuinely wanted to. I believe she wanted to save absolutely everyone to be the saintess she had come to be known as. She gave assistance to anyone who sought it from her, without question. And as a result, the church's coffers quickly dried up. Her God did not supply her with an endless store of bread and wine either. In the end, any endeavor to matter the intention required money. Wait, what? To the end, any endeavor, no matter the intentions, requires money. In time, her generosity turned excessive, self-destructive. She would even skip meals so that others could eat. In retrospect, that was probably my fault too, as I pushed her towards wanting to be a regular girl. She pushed back against that desire by even being more charitable. Soon her actions started making the other nuns' lives difficult, giving her less than favorable reputation with the church. Still, she would tell me when we meet up how she wished she could help even more people. If doing so would give her peace, and if I could be a part of that peace, then I wanted to grant her wish. But what could a killer like me do to help? Petty thievery wouldn't even nearly Petty thievery wouldn't make me nearly enough money to keep a church and orphanage running. And a raid large enough in scale to do so would inevitably be traced back to the source, which will ruin the church forever. How was a murderer to acquire a large sum of money? I was ready to jump at any opportunity that presented itself. When I receive a summons from the Lord, oh, it's you. I take it you're the Oriental man who's been buzzing around a local church of late. When I first saw the Lord, I was surprised at just how young he looked. There couldn't have been more than a couple of years difference between us. I had envisioned him as an elderly or, at the very least, a middle-aged man. That would be me, yes. What of it? Who do you think you're talking to, you impudent rat? Show some damn respect. Apologies, I'm not very familiar with the local customs or the language. Very well then. You're fortunate I'm such an understanding man. Now, for the reason I called you here. You're the one who killed that cart full of slaves 4 years ago, aren't you? So you know about that. I wasn't exactly sure it was you, but now I have confirmation. Since then, one slave of Far Eastern origin has remained unaccounted for. I take it that would be you. That's right. He made one hell of a mess out there. I'm here to be punished. That depends on how our talk goes. If you think of going back to being a slave, you're fooling yourself. I don't need any more damn slave, and I certainly don't want you as one. You're obviously not finding any respectable work, being an ex-slave. So I take it you're still in business for getting your hands dirty, are you not? I assume you're playing the cat burglar or something, living off whatever you can swipe from the nearest unlucky bastard. Correct. Isn't it comical then, that you would choose God's scarce house to stretch your legs in, you filthy dog? I absolutely agree. I thought that would get a reaction out of you, but it seems you have no bite in you today. Never mind, let's get down to business. You're going to help me out with a little something I'm working on. Help you with what exactly? Something that's going to make me a lot of money. And if you lend a hand, I'll make sure you're well taken care of. Along with the church you're so fond of. And the nun you've taken a liking to. That nun of yours has made quite the name for herself. Out in the city proper, people have started calling her the Saintess. They're right about that. She is. The commoners love for their heroes and saints. They eat that rubbish right up. But saint or not, you can't simply create food from nothing. Her work is causing financial troubles for the church, is it not? Yes, it is, yes. If you help me with this, I'm offering you an entirely new church, one where she has complete control to do whatever as she pleases, as she wishes. She'll make it into the biggest church in the city. She'll be able to help even more people, which should surely please her. What would you have me do? Jumping out the first whiff of straps. Are you really a dog, aren't you? I don't like conversation that overstay their welcomes. Fair enough. Then let's get to business. Not far from here lives a witch whose blood has the power to cause miracles. Miracle blood? Sound like a sham to me. You never know. They say the sound of her first cry brought rain to the land where she was born, saving the whole village from drought. And they say her blood has the power to cure any disease. I'll worry about the veracity of the rumors later. Right now, all I want is for you to capture her and bring her to me. Explain something to me, Lord. You said that if I help you, the nun will be able to save more people than she does now. So how does capturing this witch accomplish that? I'm glad you know how to listen, dog. We're returning the blood into miracle elixir, which she will then distribute to patrons of the church. In exchange for tillets, of course. Selling it then. Selling isn't quite the right word, but if that's how you want to think of it, then by all means. The commoner's beloved saint is handing out an all-powerful miracle medicine. They'll lap it up. And in turn, you'll make a fortune. Exactly, money I can use to support her church. It'll be a boon in the city economy as well. A single witch's freedom is all it costs you for everyone here to come out happy. So what would it be? Would you help, or will I have to? I'll help. I have no reason not to. Decisive and a good listener. Excellent. Once I've captured the witch, where do I take her? I have a mansion set aside where your nun can run her church. There's an observation tower on the grounds. The witch will be kept locked up there to ensure we have constant supply of blood. Okay. When do you want me to get her? You're just chomping at the bits now, aren't you? I thought you'd hesitate like at least a little, but I guess it was foolish of me to presume to understand how a killer minds work. All the resources I put into investigating you and everyone close to you were wasted, it would seem. Do you even have a conscience? Don't act like you're any different. I assure you, I have a conscience. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't necessary for the growth of the city. No, I mean, as much of a murderer as me. You would never come up with a scheme like this if your hands weren't clean. Watch your mouth, dog. Don't you dare insinuate I would never consent to your level. I agreed to the Lord's terms. A couple days later, I made my way to the location the Lord had given me. A small cottage by a lake, where the witch was said to live. I had been instructed to take her alive, but not that I wasn't allowed to harm. Wait, what? I was instructed to take her alive, but not that I wasn't allowed to harm her. So my plan was to force my way in and immobilize her as soon as she opened the door. The Lord was right. Didn't have anything resembling a conscience. I was too far gone to be bothered by the prospect of disabling a witch. Not even the fact that I had found a degree of solace in my relationship with Pauline would change that. However, who's there? When I heard the witch's voice through the door, I froze. It was the girl 4 years earlier. I didn't even have to see her, I knew right away. I wouldn't mistake that voice. That stream of pure, clear water cutting through the grime for anything. I would never forget the first thing that I had ever managed to suppress my desires. My first tether. When the Lord told me about the witch, I never once expected it to be her. Who is it? Are you the witch with the miracle blood? My hand rested on the hilt of my sword. I had at first meant to break down the door if she wouldn't open it for me. Please leave. However, when I heard that voice, my hand felt limp. Please stay away from my home. I am in need of some of your blood. Could you not spare a little? I have nothing to spare for a man like you. My blood is only for the sick and needy. So please, go away. Stay away from me. I'm begging you. Get away from this place. You're a murderer. I want nothing to do with you. So please, just go away. As you say. As she had commanded, I took my leave of her cottage in somewhat of a haze. It should have come to no surprise, but in the 4 years since our last encounter, she had no kind words left to spare me. Yet even her disseration, I still felt myself being calmed by the sound of her voice. I debated with myself. Should I do as the Lord requested and captured her? Or should I let her go free, as I done 4 years earlier? You already know what I decided to do though, don't you? That's right, I went with the first option. After all, I had no need for 2 tethers. While breaking down her door was still an option, the witch was wary of me. If she were to somehow manage to escape, there was no saying how the Lord might react. So I stood watch, waiting for her to step outside. The problem was she never opened her door. It wasn't just me, it seemed she was wary of everybody. There was one exception though, the boy. She left the cottage for him. They went on walks together, walk around the lake. It's been a while since we last went on one of our walks though. I haven't been sleeping much, taking care of Nelly. Is her conditioning worsening again? Yeah. Rest assured I will give her my blessing as many times as she needs. Uh, thanks. I really, really appreciate it. The weather is kind of not great today, huh? Looks like we might get rain. She doesn't say anything. It's probably not smart to stay outside much longer. Yesterday. I should get going. See you. Watching the two of them, it occurs to me that I could make good use of that boy. Yeah, we all know this part. You have two options. Either you say no and protect the witch, get away, or you help me capture her. Get away from her right now. If you choose the witch, I kill the girl. Get away! Make your decision. Get away from her! You have until the count of 10. If you don't choose, I kill the girl. 10. 97. Oh. 6. But okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll get your sword out of her face. Don't kill her. I thought you hold out until the last second. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's get going. Crying. Get moving! Crying. You pitiful little boy. Crying. Yeah, we all know this part. Get back, no, stay away from me. No, help. Don't kill me. Take it. Well, that's your share. Should last you long enough. Why did you take my arm? What do you mean, share? Why? My arm. My arm. No, put me down, please. Help! Someone, please help! Oh no. The witch with the miracle blood had regressed into an ordinary girl as she cried in pain like a small child. I wasn't going to get very far with her wailing, so I gagged her and tied her up. And threw her into a burlap sack, really. Nothing personal, I just needed your blood. Without it, she'll lose her church. She needs the money. I need some way of getting enough money to keep her church running. So the Lord made me an offer. If I brought him the witch with the miracle blood, he would finance the whole new church for her. So don't take it personally. I tossed the sack into the cart I had waiting outside, then made my way to the mansion, as per the Lord's instructions. The two of us then locked the witch in the observation tower. When I told the Lord I had used the boy as bait to get her to open the door, he gave expostulated sigh and said, "Involving a third party was not a part of the plan. Is there anything at all in that head of yours, dog? I can kill him if that's a problem. Don't be hasty. Describe him for me. Does he seem like he came from a wealthy family? He is young, still in his teens. He lives with his little sister. You look reasonably well off, probably of noble blood. You pick one hell of a target to use as your bait. Should I kill him?" There are people in this world you can make disappear quietly. People no one will notice if gone missing. You're one of them. The boy, he's most likely isn't. Was the boy at all interested in the witch's blood? He seems to be. Well, that makes things a little easier. We just have to make him into an accomplice then. That's everything up to about six months ago. You know what happened next, I presume. I threatened Mel, forced him to join us. He needed the witch's blood for his sister, but even without that excuse, he didn't have the courage to run. Me, on the other hand, I involved myself of my own will. I had no reason to try to get back out. In fact, being put in charge of one of the 3 keys gave me an excuse to meet up with her more often. The arrangement was quite beneficial for me. Hey, I heard the news. You were selected to be a part of the Lord's personal guard. Now you've got it made. Congratulations. You exaggerate, there's nothing. Oh, now don't be so humbled. He wouldn't have picked you if he didn't really trust you. Yeah, more like we're accomplices, but sure. Everyone around here knows how hard it is to earn the Lord's trust. If you say so. It hasn't been easy for him to hear, I hear. He only assigned those he really trusts to work so close to him. I hope you're right. He trusts you, I'm sure of it. I certainly can't tell her the real reason I suddenly became his guard. And I've got some more exciting news too. The Lord sent a messenger for me earlier. Apparently he's building a new church, and he wants me to serve as a nun there. What? Oh, Pauline's talking. Can't you believe it? You shouldn't be surprised. You are the city saintess after all. It's a little wonder you would be his first choice. I really don't think I'm that important. You do not want the position. No, I'm delighted to have such an incredible opportunity. This will allow me to help so many more people than before. It's wonderful news. That's good to hear. Tell me, I'm not wrong thinking helping people is the one thing you want more than anything else, am I? Right, that's what I want more than anything else in the world. Lies. I see. Lies. Hey, smile for me, would you? Huh? I've been smiling this whole time, haven't I? Not just now. Forever. Oh. Of course, when I'm with you, nothing could possibly take the smile off my face. I'm glad to hear it. Morgana. I never knew someone could lose so much weight while eating every day. You might have to increase your portions. If there's anything in particular you want, just tell me. I hear children's voice. From outside, I hear children's voice. The kids there. The kids, they're here to see the Saintess. It's gotten quite noisy out late, yes. Oh, the Saintess. Your voice has gotten raspy too. Was that my doing? Did I take your voice? That's unfortunate. To me, your voice held far more value than your blood. And I took that away from you. Yes. You tree took everything from me. So we did. Enough chatter, dog! The Lord's schemes was a success. The witch's blood brought with it an influx of donations, which the Lord invested in various businesses in the city. I have no idea if the blood actually has miraculous powers, but there were certainly people claiming to have been healed by it. It wasn't long before people who weren't sick started making use of the supposed cure-all medication, saying it had preventative properties as well. As word of the lectures spread, the Lord's prophets grew in kind. One fact was undeniable. The witch's blood stimulated the city's dramatic growth. And that's everything. Appalling, is it not? Morgana. If you hate me for what I did to her, you can take this sword and kill me with it. And if you have it, you can have my key. I won't put up a fight. You have the right to exact punishment on me. Killing you will accomplish nothing. It is neither my place to forgive nor punish you. As much as it would make me feel better, doing so serves no meaningful purpose. I would like you to give me a little time though. I need time to cool down, enough that I could talk to you with a clear head. Of course. So, are you willing to speak with me? Are you still willing to speak with me, my dude? I give you my word. I told you I will help figure out what path you should take. You're an honorable man. I will not force your hands if you don't want to do this. You can tell me to leave and I'll walk right out the door. More than anger or hatred. I'm simply deeply pained. Maybe things would have turned out better if I were as sympathetic a man as you. People are supposed to be able to feel happy or sad for each other. I can't, though, which must make me a beast. When you first met Morgana, you felt a desire to rescue her from the slave trader, did you not? You thought someone other than yourself. I never saw that desire true though. My thirst far overpowered anything I may have wanted to do for her. And the next time we met, I sold her to the Lord. As I said before, there's no room for interpretation in the things I have done. Whatever I might have wanted to do at one point is all meaningless now. Regardless, anything I do for someone else is ultimately my own benefit, because it is what I needed. No matter how selfish your motivations may ultimately be, please let me believe some part of you does genuinely want to help her. Alright. I know I sound like a hypocrite for saying this, but sitting back and waiting for her to die is not what I want. When I cut off her arm, I didn't feel any thrill or euphoria that I usually do when taking my sword to someone. I can't say whether that means I had a conscience if for a moment, or I just wasn't myself at the time. If you can save her though, please do. I can't do anything. If I try, I'll only make things worse. I cannot do everything on my own either. Give me your word that you will atone to Morgana for your sins, for your actions. While I doubt making reparations will clear me of my crimes. If that's what you want me to do, that is what I will do. Can I ask you something? What is it? Tell me more about my next life. I want to know what kind of man I am. I want to know every mistake I made, all the details. I warn you, it's a tale far more barbaric than anything you can imagine. Do you still want to hear it? I do. And I have little doubt that I will believe it. If you're worried I might react the way I did earlier, I'll lay down my sword. You could tie me up too if you want. That won't be necessary. I'm going to trust you. I tell you the whole, hopelessly tragic truth. Everything I saw with no embellishment. Please do. And so I told him the tale I witnessed beyond the second door. That he lost his memory in a shipwreck. That he was treated like a beast by the people in the land where he washed up. That he massacred countless people. That he took the life of his lover, who had come in search of him, never wavering in her belief that he was still alive. I told him about the white-haired girl. I told him about the things he made Giselle do. I didn't hide anything. As I spoke, he occasionally grimaced, or his eyes would go wide for a moment, but not once did he interrupt me. He sat there in silence until I finished. That was nice. Wait, we only have one day until Morgana could be saved. You weren't kidding. That was far worse than I had imagined. It's the truth though. You become the target of Morgana's loading, and you are led back to this mansion. That is what lies in your future. As difficult as it may be to comprehend, that person is you. The man who does all those things hundreds of years from now is you. I really am a beast. A horrendously precarious creature. As I interpret it, when you lost your memory, you also lost everything you used to suppress your nature. You lost the foundation you had built, and as a result, you are no longer able to maintain that balance. Would that mean I am what I am now? Is completely speaking human? No. No different now. I'm no different now. I've no more control over myself when I'm killing people than the man you describe. You've seen me do reprehensible things, and in spite of that you were never condescending or insulting, never acted disgusted or afraid of me. Are all angels as compassionate as you? I'm not an angel. I was simply biting my tongue. Are you afraid of me then? I'm not afraid of you, no. What are you then? I don't understand. I am of the belief that now is not the appropriate time for me to allow my personal feelings to influence my actions. My task is to save Morgana. I'm to be honest with you for a moment. I despise the man you are in the future, but I'm also equally frustrated at myself. You're right, the things you did were inexcusable. You murdered innocents. You killed a woman who came searching for you. But on a personal level, what angers me the most is that you put blood on the hands of the woman I love. I know very well that to you it's something you haven't done yet, but it was still your soul. It tears me apart inside that I couldn't return in time to stop it. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who wouldn't be angry to know someone they care about had received that kind of treatment. I suppose. If that's how you feel though, aren't you interested in taking revenge on me? As I mentioned before, there are times when allowing your emotion to take the reins is the wrong course of actions. This is one of those times. Seeking vengeance is the wrong thing for me to do right now. If I could eliminate Morgana's hatred, the tree of your souls will be set free as well. So you're going to save me too? Yes, I am. I don't consider myself worthy of redemption. Especially not after hearing about the things I will do. I'm a beast, true and true. A twisted psychopathic monster. You were conflicted though. You struggle against the creature that dwelled inside you. It's true that you found perverted joy in the violence and murder. But you also felt kindness, which caused a part of you to seek peace. And the same can be said of you in this time as well. If you actually were nothing but a beast, or rather nothing but a man that derived pleasure in killing, maybe I would have truly reviled you. Then you would be irredeemable no matter what had turned you into that. No matter how much pain and suffering had driven you to that point. But your instability, your constantly shifting desires, your mental fragility. All appear to me as very human traits. Tell me, how should I live my life from here on? What is it that you want what is it you want the most? The easiest road for me would be the one I walk now, to continue being a killer. No fighting my desires, no resisting what's inside me. Would that be my salvation, to abandon my humanity entirely? I don't know what I should do, what I'm supposed to do. I'm at a complete loss about everything. I would like to believe that your desire to live in peace is sincere. And that's what I want for you too. It'll be a more trying path, yes, but you will have to fight against your nature to stay on it. But we live in the human world. And you also have Pauline, who wants the same thing, extending her hand for you, inviting you to join her. So I encourage you to suppress your urges. Your life will not be easy for it. But I implore you to take the rocky road, for your own sake and for hers. Even if my entire life is built on a foundation of lies. Before today, I believed it was wrong not to be true to oneself. But as I listened to you tell your story, I came to realize that maybe there are exceptions. Some things you can and possibly should keep locked inside of you, where they can't hurt anyone else. However, I also think you have a tendency to try and act too perfect around her, both in this life and the next. You cover up so much of yourself, you become an entirely different person. You can be conflicted, imperfect. You can be your conflicted, imperfect self around her. The man you are right now, lost and trying to find his way. I have little doubt she will accept that man. What you need most is restraint. I see. So tell me, do you think my future can be changed? I don't know for certain, so all I can do is speculate. But as you share the same soul, I expect any changes you make now will reflect it in your future incarnations. I have my work cut out for me then. Pauline, she believed in me. She put her faith in a beast and went out in search of him. I cannot allow myself to be the kind of monster that will murder a woman like her. I have to change. I will change the future. You can do it. When my life here comes to an end, I vow to make my next one better. Thank you for listening to me, and for giving me guidance. I can't say I'm particularly suited for the job. Knowing that my words are going to influence the direction of another's life is an unimaginable amount of pressure. I don't know, I say you pull it off well enough. If you ever decide to quit being an angel, you make a damn convincing missionary. I have no interest in being a missionary. And as I've told you, I'm not an angel. That's too bad. I joined the Church of Michelle. Don't look at me like that, I'm just kidding. Now, Can I get angry at you? As I've been telling you, I'm an ordinary man. I'm not special in any way, like you seem to think I am. You're not ordinary. You're different, but not the same way I am. I wouldn't ask any normal man to show me how to live my life. I see. Although, what passes for normal differs from person to person, I suppose. Just as I don't think you're normal, I'm sure there are people out there who do. Perhaps. Or maybe they just be able to see my desires to be normal. Well, that's everything I have to tell you. You're going to probably want to talk to the Lord next, I presume. That's right. I'm going to convince him to hand over his key, and I'm gonna set Morgana's free. I doubt you have much luck in convincing him of anything, but I'll help you in any way I can. I appreciate it. I get him to come to supper tonight. You'll be there too. Okay, I'll be there. If I could ask you one favor though, could you try to arrange for that as late as possible? That would be doable, but why? There's someone else I need to speak with first. Alright, I'll do what I can. Thank you. See you this evening then. I thought it was night. Did I lead him to the correct path? Would he actually find redemption at the end of it? No, I made the right decision. Even if he doesn't in his next life, there's enough chance that he will in his next. Oh, in this life, okay, whatever. One left, and that's it. Almost there, Giselle. I almost made it to Morgana. I've come this far. All that is left is to speak with the Lord. Stay focused, Michelle. The pieces I have still don't fit together yet. As Morgana told it, the Lord was a cruel man from the moment she first saw him. And he wasn't much different in the swordsman telling of the events either. Are those portrayals the full picture of what kind of man he is? Will adding his perspective do anything to amplify Morgana's hatred? And if he really is the exact man he's been made out to be, then how do you explain his internal struggles from the third door? Did his core personality change with the times? Everyone else I met has been fundamentally the same, though. Are you the exception? Jacopo, Jacopo, Jacopo. I'm gonna call him Jacob, but I know it's another name. Morgana found joy in her life during her 3 years at the brothel. She wept about not being given the opportunity to thank them. So maybe Maria's more likely to be able to surge Morgana's animosity. I have to hear what she has to say. Oh, what's happening? I could barely move my right arm. I can't feel my fingers at all. It burns. Oh no, what's happening? I've managed this long, but damn if it doesn't hurt. What happened? Am I fading from existence? No! what's happening? Why must you hand out miracles for nothing? Huh? I know that voice. I'm looking up at someone. A woman. She's draped in a black fog, and I can't make out many details. But even through the darkness, I know immediately who she is. She is Mother. No, she is not my mother. She is me. What? Why would you even ask such a question, Mother? We're barely holding on to it as it is, my dear. It's not wrong to expect a little remuneration for our services. No, Mother, it is wrong. Miracles are not to be bartered for. God, the Father, does not charge for his miracles. So why should we, when I'm only borrowing his power? Listen to me, Morgana. Every time you give someone a blessing, you're hurting yourself. If not for the miracle itself, you still deserve some degree of compensation for the pain. I know you're concerned for me, Mother, and I appreciate it very much. But I am happy with the way things are. I'm happy to be able to help others with my Heavenly Father's power. A power you won't have much longer, my dear. If we can't afford to keep ourselves fed. I'm a saint, aren't I? Yes, you are my sweet little saint. God will not forsake his saint. No matter how difficult it may get, he will always provide me a way to continue doing his work. And you're the mother of that saint, aren't you? Yes, that's right. I conceive you untainted by the hands of man. Then you must respect his will as well, Mother. It must be our highest priority. You're right. I was wrong, my dear saint. Mother, Mother, you agreed with me. You said I was right. So why are you taking money from that man? Mother. Mother looked over as strange men shoved me into a carriage. The look in her eyes sent chill down my spine. Mine quotation. I see her lips moving. She doesn't actually say the words out loud, but I can make out every individual syllable. Because you're worthless to me. Welcome, daughter of God. You'll be performing miracles for me now. And if you cooperate, I can guarantee you will live more than comfortably. Miracles are not something to be performed for a single person's benefit. What? Miracles are not magic or parlor tricks. They're precious gifts granted to me by my Father in heaven. The Lord. Where are we not seeing the Lord? Using his power for personal gratification is a grave sin. I will do no such thing. I entreat you to think long and hard about your actions. Do away with such selfish desires and dedicate yourself to helping the people. The power you have been given, it was bestowed upon you by the hands of God. It is not your power. He is merely allowing you to make use of it for a short time. Pride is a sin. Please consider how you conduct yourself. You're an ignorant, insolent child, aren't you? I bought you. You are my property. You have no right to an opinion. That's not my opinion. That is the way of the world. As God. Silence! You are not here to talk. You are here to perform miracles for me and my guests. As I've already told you, I will do no such thing. What you will or will not do is my decision, not yours. The Lord says with a sickening laugh, then grabs me by the hair and knocks me to the floor. I beg him to stop, but he isn't listening to a word I say. Cheers, a saint's blood and good fortune to all. I stare vaguely out at the crowd gathering for the Lord's blood feasts. Every time he has guests, he throws another party, and every time he slices another part of my arms or leg open. It isn't long until they're an unsightly web of crisscross scars. The Lord sometimes has trouble deciding where to cut, but not out of any sense of sympathy for me. He simply thinks drawing blood from an untouched area of my body will make it more effective. The Lord strips me bare. Perhaps I use your stomach today, Saint. I should be able to get some nice pure blood from there. Stop this. Can you not comprehend what you're doing is an affront to the Lord? I'm free to do what I wish with my property. Saint or not, you are no different from any of my slaves. The Lord is greatly displeased with your actions. Then use your miracle's power to deliver divine punishment on me. Go on. You can do that, can't you? Your soul will be punished. You may not see the effects now, but you will pay for your sins one day. Ah, you're not as threatening as you think. You're buck naked girl. Don't give me that look, girl. I have no interest in taking that from you. You're lucky to find anyone willing to lay with a girl covered in disgusting scars. All I can do is wait and endure day after day of torture and shame. Of the Lord is searching for new places to stick his knife. My entire body except my face is covered with reddish black wounds. Someone, anyone, help me. Get me out of here. Please, someone. O Father who art in heaven, I pray for you to lead me unto deliverance. Father, your trials, they are much too great. Morgana. That was much clearer than the first time I saw it. Everything she felt, her struggling, her sincerity, her pain, and her voice. It felt almost as though I was the one going through it all. The Lord. I can understand why Morgana will bear such powerful grudge against him. Considering everything he did to her. Why would he do that though? Is there some reason, some explanation for his actions? Oh, not again. Oh no, the ecstasy is kicking in again. The drugs are kicking in again. I'm thoroughly exhausted, like I've just spent the last several months having my blood drain again. My limbs feel like they have boulders tied to them. Just trying to get to my feet make me feel dizzy. Oh god. So cool. She's probably waiting for me by now. I should get going. Alright, Maria? Right. I have to do this. Move, damn it! Fighting against my body's attempt to succumb to gravity with every step through sheer force of will, I make my way to the courtyard. And I'll save this for the next video. Save. In pursuit of truth. Nice.